You know, when you look out at Australia's Bass Strait, it's just water, right? Endless horizons. But what if I told you that deep beneath those waves lies the story of the country's biggest oil field ever? We're talking about a true giant. Its name? Kingfish.
Okay, so to really wrap your head around the scale here, let's look at the bigger picture first. The whole area, the Gippsland Basin, it's pumped out over 4 billion barrels of oil. That's just a staggering amount of energy, all pulled from right under the seabed.
And what's that worth in today's money? Well, you're looking at over $500 billion Australian dollars, 500 billion. Just think about that. A massive flood of wealth into the economy, and it all came from this one little corner of the ocean.
But here's the really wild part. All that money, all that energy, it wasn't spread out all over the place. Nope. Right at the heart of it all was one single field. The crown jewel. The engine that powered the whole thing. And that was the Kingfish Oil Field. Thing is, this wasn't just some lucky strike. I mean, the fact that Kingfish even exists is pretty much a geological miracle. It's like winning the lottery a million times over. So that brings us to the big question, right? How on earth did this perfect storm of ancient geology come together to create such an incredible treasure?
All right, so let's set the scene. Where was this incredible prize hiding? Well, out in the middle of the Bass Strait. Cold, choppy waters, and from the surface, you'd have absolutely no idea what was lurking below. See, the Kingfish Field isn't just some big tank of oil sitting there. It's way more complex than that. We're talking about an intricate geological system buried thousands of meters down that took, get this, tens of millions of years to form. It's a story written by unimaginable amounts of time and pressure. So, to really get what makes Kingfish so special, we gotta rewind the clock. Way back, because this thing is the result of a crazy chain of events that all had to happen in the perfect sequence. I mean, if just one little piece of the puzzle was out of place, poof, the whole thing wouldn't exist. Simple as that.
Okay, so here's the quick and dirty timeline. It all kicks off when the supercontinent Gondwana breaks apart. That's what creates the basin in the first place. Fast forward millions of years to the Eocene epoch. That's when the perfect sandy rock for a reservoir gets deposited. Then for millions more years, all this ancient organic gunk gets buried and cooked into oil. It starts moving around, looking for a home. Until, bam, 1967, we finally show up and drill right into it.
Let's break that down a bit. The best way to think about it is like a recipe. You need 5 crucial ingredients, and for Kingfish, they all came together perfectly. First, you need the source rock. That's the organic stuff that gets cooked into oil. Second, that oil needs to migrate or move upwards. Third, it needs to get stuck in a trap. Fourth, you need a seal to act like a lid and keep it there. And finally, you need a great reservoir to soak it all up like a sponge.
Now that third ingredient, the trap, is absolutely key. At Kingfish, the trap was basically a giant ancient hill buried deep underground. So as the oil, which is lighter than water, started moving upwards, it hit the top of this underground hill, and it had nowhere else to go. It just collected right there at the peak, forming this one massive pool.
But, you know, a trap's no good on its own. What stopped all that oil from just leaking out and vanishing over millions of years? That's where the next ingredient comes in, the seal. Lying right on top of the trap was a layer of really dense rock that oil couldn't pass through. It acted like a perfect, natural lid, locking everything down tight, just waiting to be discovered.
And even the reservoir itself, the rock holding the oil, wasn't just some simple uniform tank. Not at all. It was actually a super complex maze of old river channels, sandbars, and different layers of rock. Figuring out that internal plumbing, that complexity, has been one of the biggest challenges and the biggest triumphs in keeping this field producing for more than half a century.
Okay, so let's hit the fast forward button. We're jumping millions of years ahead to the 1960s. By now, all the geological pieces are perfectly in place. The trap is full to the brim. The only thing missing? A drill bit. And this, right here, is the moment that would change Australia's entire energy story forever.
So in April of '67, the exploration well, called Kingfish 1, punches right through that seal, and boom! It confirms what the geologists were hoping for based on their data, a massive, massive pool of oil. This discovery was so huge that they went into development mode at lightning speed. By 1971, the oil wasn't just flowing, it was absolutely gushing.
And when I say gushing, what do I mean? At its peak, Kingfish was pumping up more than 180,000 barrels of oil every single day. For Australia back then, that number was just unreal. It was a complete game changer for the entire country.
I'm not exaggerating when I say this one field changed everything. For decades, the Gippsland Basin, led by Kingfish, was the backbone of Australia's energy security. It was an economic powerhouse. It fueled industry, it meant we didn't have to rely so much on imported oil, and it basically created a world-class offshore industry from scratch that just didn't exist in Australia before.
But of course, no party lasts forever. After those incredible boom years, Kingfish entered a new chapter. Its mature phase. You could call it the long sunset. The easy-to-get oil was gone, and getting what was left, well, that was going to take a whole new level of smarts and technology.
And you could really see the difference between the two eras. The early days, the easy oil phase, that was all about high pressure. The oil practically jumped out of the ground. But the later, hard oil phase, a completely different beast. You're dealing with low pressure, water creeping into the works, and you need some seriously advanced tech to squeeze out every last drop.
So how do you keep a giant like this going? Well, this is where the geeks took over, in the best way possible. They built these amazingly detailed 3D computer models, digital twins, of the whole reservoir. They threw in seismic data, well logs, rock samples, everything, all to hunt down these little isolated pockets of leftover oil. It became this incredible high-tech treasure hunt, thousands of meters below the waves, and they pioneered techniques that are now standard practice all over the globe.
And that brings us to today. The field is now entering its final chapter, decommissioning. And let me tell you, this is a massive job, a hugely complex and expensive engineering puzzle. We're talking about plugging hundreds of wells with concrete, taking down these enormous steel platforms piece by piece, and basically trying to restore the seabed. It's the end of an era, shifting from taking things out to cleaning things up.
So when you look back, the legacy of Kingfish is so much more than just the oil. Yeah, it fueled a nation's economy. It built an entire industry. It pushed technology forward for decades. But the truly amazing thing, the thing that this whole story really boils down to, isn't just how much it produced. It's how impossibly, mind-bogglingly unlikely it was that it ever even existed in the first place. It was a perfect geological lottery ticket, cashed in from deep beneath the waves.